This exchange cuts straight to the heart of one of the most dangerous questions in modern American governance. When surveillance programs repeatedly violate civil liberties, is the failure in the law itself, or in how the government enforces it? As Mr. Cohen questions Mrs. Goitin, the discussion reveals a surveillance system under FISA Section 702 that has grown so vast, complex, and opaque that even its own safeguards appear impossible to enforce. What unfolds is not just a technical debate about intelligence tools, but a sobering warning about how unchecked data collection, artificial intelligence, and weak oversight are eroding the constitutional protections Americans are supposed to rely on.
Ms. Goteen, we've been doing this. Ms. Goteen, we've been doing this for a long time on different issues. Let me ask you a question. The problem is it the law or is it the enforcement of the law?
It's both,
Mhm.
but those two things are related. I mean, one of the things that I've wondered when I look at these massive compliance failures over the years, I don't think all of those compliance failures were intentional. I don't think all of them were negligent. I think that they have built a system that is so massive and so complex, and the rules are just so sort of arcane and intricate that it might actually be impossible to completely enforce the rules as they would need to be enforced to protect Americans' privacy. That is one major advantage to the warrant requirement, is that it's so much simpler. You reduce the need for all of these massive layers of oversight for different rules, for different tools you might use for different queries, figuring out, is this a query, is this not a query? It's very, very simple. If the government wants to access an American's communications, they submit a warrant application, they go to the court, or a Title I application. It simplifies the process, and that will itself, even leaving aside the fact that you now have an independent branch of government performing this review, will make compliance achievable.
With AI, are we going to have more and more problems because there'll be more and more data?
Absolutely. And I think with AI, we're going to have to really re-examine how U.S. person query is even defined. Because if AI is used in a way that can select U.S. person communications without actually using what we think of as U.S. person identifiers, then we are sort of right back where we were before, with really no limits on governmental access to U.S. person communications. So yes, that is an issue we will have to.
Has the FISA court been fairly consistent in how they've dealt with these issues?
I mean, what I would say is that the FISA court has been remarkably tolerant of just this long history of abuses. It's, you know, we focus on the FBI's querying abuses in recent years. This program has been plagued with violations and noncompliance since its inception. And I'm not just talking about the FBI, I'm talking about the NSA in particular, the CIA. The NSA was violating its query restrictions systemically for almost a decade after the program was put in place. And yet every year, the FISA court has reauthorized this program. A couple of times, they've waited a few months for new layers of oversight to be put in place. But to me, it's an example of fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me, because it's been a 17-year pattern of violations, extensive systemic violations. And yet the FISA court, you know, points out the violations, is upset about them, says they're unacceptable, and reauthorizes the program.
Let me go to another issue, I guess. Mr. Ice, I asked you about those 7 or 8, 9 senators and reps, and whether anybody thought that they should be subject to any reviews. Well, as I understand it, the idea was not that they were because they were Republicans. It was because they had, Mr. Smith had reason to believe that, and a court agreed in issuing a warrant, that they had possible connections with the Trump White House and the overthrow of our government. Would that not give any of y'all the belief that they should have been queried or looked at their records of their phone calls? Ms. Codian.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I thought you were asking. Can you just repeat that? I was.
The idea that Jack Smith got a warrant
Yeah.
and apparently because he thought that these people might have some contact with the president and the committee to overthrow the government, whatever it was.
Right. So, I mean, I think what we're dealing with here is the fact that subpoenas for communications records are extremely easy to obtain. You actually don't have to show that the person in question is themselves involved in any sort of criminal activity. The standard is one of relevance. That's a very low standard. And I think when we're talking about communications metadata, which is incredibly revealing information. This is the information that the NSA was collecting in bulk on
Let me just
Americans.
go quick. My time's about to run out.
I'm sorry.
$1 million question.
Yeah.
Do you think those 9 people, because they had their metadata looked at, should get $500,000 to $1 million simply by going to federal court like no
Well,
other
I
citizen?
think if we're going to do that, then I think that should be open to everybody who's had their metadata acquired based on this very, very low standard. And that'll be a little tricky.
Thank you. I yield back.
The exchange between Mr. Steve Cohen and Ms. Goitain highlights some of the most pressing challenges in modern American surveillance and civil liberties law. At the center is the tension between national security imperatives and constitutional protections. Mr. Cohen's questions cut to the heart of the matter. When surveillance programs repeatedly overstep their bounds, is the fault rooted in the law itself or in its enforcement? As Ms. Goitain notes, it is both revealing a system whose complexity may undermine the very safeguards it is meant to uphold. FISA Section 702, intended to target foreign intelligence, has grown into a sprawling and opaque mechanism.
They are coming for your data, your privacy, and your freedom. And they're using the GOP's favorite surveillance machine to do it. For years, the right-wing establishment has hidden behind the banner of national security to build a sprawling, opaque spy network that treats every American citizen like a suspect. Section 702 isn't just a tool. It's a weapon of the surveillance state. The hypocrisy is staggering. While MAGA Republicans scream about deep state conspiracies when their own are held accountable for insurrection, they are the first to authorize the systemic violation of your constitutional rights. They've built a system so massive and arcane that even the experts admit it's impossible to enforce. It's a deliberate maze of arcane and intricate rules designed to fail, ensuring that the NSA, FBI, and CIA can keep digging into your life with zero consequence. For 17 years, we've seen a pattern of systemic abuse. The FISA court body that should be a watchdog has become a lapdog for the intelligence community, reauthorizing these intrusive programs year after year, despite extensive systemic violations. It's a fool-me-once scenario that has played out for nearly 2 decades. The GOP elite loves to talk about liberty, but they've handed the keys to your private life to a machine that never sleeps and never forgets. Now, they're adding AI to the mix, turning an already broken system into a high-tech dragnet. This technology can identify you without ever using your name, bypassing what few legal protections we have left. The right-wing agenda doesn't want simple, transparent warrant requirements because warrants require actual proof of a crime. They preferte relevance data bar so that the corporate elite can justify snooping on anyone who dares to challenge their power or organize for change. Don't be fooled by their national security rhetoric. This is about control. When the GOP defends these broad surveillance powers, they are defending the ability of the state to suppress dissent and monitor the working class. They want a population that is watched, measured, and intimidated. Every metadata subpoena and every unchecked AI query is a direct assault on the common good, funded by your tax dollars to serve a billionaire-friendly status quo. The right wing has turned our democracy into a digital panopticon where privacy is a luxury and surveillance is the norm. They claim to fear a repressive regime abroad while building the infrastructure for one right here. It is the ultimate conservative grift. Sell the people safety while stealing their fundamental rights. We cannot allow the MAGA movement to continue this charade of defending freedom while they tighten the noose of the surveillance state around our necks. We must dismantle this culture of impunity. We must demand an end to the fool-me-twice era of FISA reauthorizations and force the government to get a warrant if they want our data. It is time to organize, mobilize, and expose the GOP's complicity in this digital tyranny. The elite think they can hide behind their complex algorithms and secret courts. But the people are waking up to the reality of their digital chains. Digital resistance is no longer optional, it is a survival tactic. Join the common good in the fight to reclaim our privacy and our democracy from the corporate-backed surveillance hawks. Share this message. Demand accountability from your representatives. And let the MAGA elite know that we see through their lies. The power belongs to the people, and we will not be watched into submission. Stand up, fight back, and protect the common good. The right-wing security is a prison for the people. Tear down the surveillance state before it deletes your dissent.